If you've ever looked down at your raised bed and seen dry, tired soil that even compost refuses to fix, you're not alone. Many gardeners face this exact frustration, spending weeks layering kitchen waste and compostable materials only to get zero signs of worm life. No movement, no castings, just dust. But what if there was a way to attract earthworms fast, not in weeks but in hours, without turning the pile or even waiting for compost to kick in? That's exactly what happened when I used one unlikely combination of kitchen scraps. It wasn't fancy, and it certainly wasn't something I expected to work. But the moment I buried this soft, rotting mix into the bed, it was like sending an open invitation to every worm in the neighborhood. Within hours, the bed was alive. Before you click away or assume this is another banana peel or compost tea trick, stay with me. Because the real magic isn't in one ingredient, it's in how three very ordinary scraps work together in decay to create a microbial explosion so attractive, worms literally show up from nowhere. Let's break it down. At the heart of this method is a powerful mix-rotting pumpkin skins, soaked wheat bread, and overripe banana peels. You might already be tossing these into your compost, but when used strategically and slightly fermented, they do something completely different. Instead of slowly becoming humus, they act like bait, not for pests, but for worms. Each element plays a role. Pumpkin skins rot fast but hold moisture exceptionally well, which creates the ideal damp environment that worms love to travel through. Soaked bread, on the other hand, acts as a carbohydrate-rich sponge that not only holds microbial life, but begins to ferment within 24 hours. It emits yeasty smells that worms recognize as a signal of life and decomposition. And the banana peel, that's your sugar. It ferments quickly and attracts both fungi and bacteria that worms feed on. But here's the trick. Don't toss these raw. The secret is to soften and slightly ferment the scraps in a bucket or container for at least 48 hours before burying them. This gives the microbes a head start and begins breaking down the structure of the food, releasing gases and byproducts that scream food to underground soil dwellers. Traditional compost is a long game. You build a pile, layer green and brown, wait for heat, and eventually get worm activity as the materials mellow out. That's great for long-term soil building. But if your raised bed is lifeless right now and you need fast biological activity, waiting 4 to 6 weeks isn't the answer. This fermenting scrap mix doesn't replace compost, it kickstarts it. By providing immediate sugars, moisture, and living bacteria, it acts like an injection of life into dead zones. It's not the nutrients in the scraps themselves that matter most, it's the way they create the conditions that worms crave. When worms arrive and stay, they do the real work, shredding, mixing, and excreting castings that change the soil chemistry entirely. In a test bed I ran with dry, neglected topsoil, I buried a small handful of this mixture in one corner, covered it with about 2 inches of loose soil and watered gently. After about 10 hours I gently pulled the cover back, and found worm tunnels, visible castings, and at least 6 earthworms wriggling right at the site. The rest of the bed remained untouched and lifeless. The difference was instant and honestly undeniable. You might be wondering, won't this rot and attract flies or stink up the garden? Surprisingly, no, because the scraps are already partially fermented before burying. They don't emit strong odor like fresh food waste does, and since you bury them just 2 or 3 inches deep, you won't see them either. The key is to use softened, wet material rather than chunks. If you're worried about critters, adding a layer of soaked cardboard or leaf mulch above the buried mix acts as a deterrent and moisture cap. In fact, that upper mulch layer also helps hold in the gases and microbial warmth, increasing the worm response even more. The best time to apply this method is at dusk, when soil temperatures drop slightly and worms begin their natural upward movement. Water lightly after burying the mix, but don't soak. You want to maintain aeration while encouraging scent dispersion into the soil. Once worms find your bed, your job is to make them stay. That means keeping a regular supply of small fermenting pockets in different corners of the bed every 7 to 10 days for the first month. You don't need large amounts, just a handful each time. Over time, worm activity becomes consistent. The tunnels stay open, castings build up, and the dead, compacted dust you started with begins to darken and loosen without any digging or traditional composting. The shift is gradual but real. This lazy trick, one that costs you nothing but your old scraps, transforms the biology of your soil far faster than waiting for a compost pile to mature. And it gives your raised bed that living texture gardeners dream of. So next time you're about to toss that pumpkin skin or stale piece of bread, think twice. Rot it with intention. Because with a bit of moisture and fermentation, you're not just discarding waste, you're baiting life back into your soil. If you found this guide helpful and want more hands-free methods to revive your garden soil fast, hit that subscribe button and share this video with your fellow growers. Let's bring more life underground, without the digging, composting, or expensive soil amendments.